Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Let our first act every morning be to make the following resolve for the day. I shall not fear anyone on earth. I shall fear only God. I shall not bear ill will toward anyone. I shall not submit to injustice from anyone." Let this, then, be the theme of this record.
Hello, this is John J. Thompson, and welcome to the hidden episode of the True Tunes podcast. That's right, you are clearly a bear of above average intelligence because you found this, the mysteriously missing episode 18, which is, in fact, some more of my conversation with Marc Byrd. Actually, like I mentioned in the most recent episode, there was much more to our chat, and this is some of it. We talk about theology and whether or not Hammock might ever play live again. It's some good stuff gathered here in this special hidden episode. And while, yes, we're having some fun with this bit, the truth is that we are launching the True Tunes Patreon program, and this is just one example of the kind of extra content that will henceforth be available for our patrons, those who support us. We have already got a pile of stuff like this, not to mention a box full of tapes of interviews from the last 30 years, and a whole lot of other ideas of ways we can make your life better. So, you really should consider becoming a patron, because the truth is, I need your help. I'll talk a little bit more about it at the end of the clip, and though we encourage you not to tell folks exactly where you found the link, let's have some fun with this. Spread the word that there is a hidden track on the site somewhere, and let's see how many people can find it. Eventually, I'll post it for all to hear, but for now, it's just for you, the clever ones. Okay, so back to the conversation with Marc.
All the while, the eyes of God shine on us.
I think the fear makes us all want to be in a rock band.
Really?
Do you think you might do a common children thing again someday?
I don't know, man. I mean, I'm occasionally in conversation with Drew, but I don't know. I've wanted to, not a full album, but something. I've wanted to, because I just kind of sometimes just want to get that part of me out as well. Just want to release, and it's such a release to be able to do that. So
and why is Hammock so not a live thing? It feels like it would. I've seen you do one thing in all the years, and it was here at the family washing.
Yeah.
Have you thought about trying to ramp up once we can do stuff in person? Yeah,
we have. We're. The problem is our catalog is like, it can get really ambient, it can get very orchestrated, it can get guitars, post-rocky. And so to pull all of that off is probably a little too overwhelming. So we're trying to make just this album a little more like, if we had to pull it off live, we could. It's not always an easy thing to pull off live because it requires a few players and that can get expensive. But now that we are where we are and there's kind of a demand for it,
right,
it's a lot different. When we first started, it was like, we're only going to do shows that make sense. So the Cigar Roast thing made sense. The Stars of the Lid thing made sense. The Echoes podcast made sense. The Gatherings in Philadelphia made sense. And then Family Wash was just for Thomas. It was like a favor to Thomas.
Oh.
But we just wanted the live thing to make sense. And when we first started exploring wanting to go out to play live, it just financially didn't make enough sense. Now it probably would, because now we get contacted by booking agents as opposed to us contacting them, Right. So it's a little different. So yes, honestly, I crave that. I told this to Christy and my manager. I said, man, when I'm on my deathbed, I'm probably going to wish that I played more live shows. It's probably something that I'm going to wish that I had done. So I'm not sure. I just want to be like, oh yeah, I'm done with that part of my life, because there's a part of me that craves that connection. I really want to create a space where when people come in, they'll remember it because it elevated them,
Right.
So we'll see.
Jordan, my son, said he wants to know what it would take to get you guys to play at his wedding.
Really?
He doesn't have a date. He's not engaged yet, but I think that if you guys were to get a date, then he would get engaged to work around your schedule. That's probably would happen. That's how big a fan he is. And we're hoping with this relaunch of True Tunes that we can amass enough of an audience. We would love to be doing a physical gathering that would be some kind of a Cornerstone-like reunion, but with all new people as well. And Hammock's the exact kind of thing we would want. We're not doing down the middle Christian music kind of stuff. It's and so it'd be fun. And even if it's just you two playing for doing whatever you can do. That's the thing. You got such a breadth of catalog now. Nobody would care. It's just do whatever you want. And the videos. Oh my gosh, I forgot the videos that you guys have done are so gorgeous, and just picturing like those things projected up really big. Oh my gosh, they're just amazing.
I know it's definitely there. It's ready to be done because what we've realized is that we could pull this off. I mean, for the longest time, it was just me and Andrew and Matt Slocum, and we loved doing that. We loved it. But man, it's intense rehearsing, which I'm not afraid of the work. It just is really. To pull it off. I'm both Andrew and I, and thank God we're both just like we want to make it really good, and so that takes a lot of work. And honestly, we just would love to play old European churches. You know what I mean? Like just the natural reverb of the room, because we did that in Philly at the church that's there on the campus for the gatherings for this Echoes radio show, and it was amazing having projections in this old church and the sound kind of just this natural cathedral kind of it was beautiful. And so I got a taste for that. I would love it if we could do like old churches in Europe.
Prague, you got to go do Prague.
Yeah.
And I got some friends in Prague, so if you get ready, let me know. I can connect you with some people there. So
all right,
and I might go. Just let me save up for a while before. I grew up in the Episcopal Church, and my grandparents and my mom and my dad, adopted me when I was a teenager. He married my mom when I was 13. So the Cursillo thing was big I still have a rooster upstairs from my grandma's collection, but it didn't cause a split in our home. It was just basically Anglicans who understood something about the Holy Spirit. So it had that blend of being anchored by liturgy and history and that, but also the vibrancy of the Holy Spirit. So I grew up with youth pastors and confirmation sponsors and this kind of blend of that, which I wasn't taught rock and roll was of the devil or you got to listen to all Christian anything. I was taught to find God in everything. And I kind of thought that every serious Christian had that experience. And then I started True Tunes because that was how I was wired. And then it was only well into that journey that I started to get boycotted and protested by the people who were like, you sell U2 and Bono said the F word and because we were so far outside of the bounds of Christian music. And now I realize my friends who grew up in that real strict Christian fundamentalist world, their pendulum got so pinned into that when it broke loose, it swings so far to the other side.
Yeah.
And I just determined with my kids to not do that. Like there's times where I'm trying to teach them discernment says you don't need to fill your head with this kind of junk. Like let's so sometimes they might think, oh, it's because we're Christians we don't watch this kind of movie or something. Yeah, that's right, we don't have pornography on in the house, because that's dehumanizing people and it's taking something holy and making it profane. And I'm going to tell you why we don't. And yes, that is because we're created in the image of God, and we're going to have a conversation around that. And you're right, we're Christians, and because of that, there's we're not going to have movies on that dehumanize people, whether that's sexually or with violence or whatever else. But it's not that the answer isn't let's watch really Christian movies. You know, that's not the answer. And so if one of those comes on Netflix, I'm like, no, like, turn this off too. Please turn this off too. You know, and so that way the pendulum, when it swings, it only swings to here.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
It's like, and then hopefully it lands. So in the rest of your life, you're just kind of doing this. You're okay. You're okay. Yeah. You're not going, wow, you know, and our world is just so full of I'm so grateful that that's the experience I had, but I realize that's not the experience that so many other people have. And so part of the thing for us, I think, and I feel like what I know about my experience in recovery, I haven't gone through all of the same exact type of stuff. I've never had a substance abuse thing, but I've gone through from like emotional perspectives and things like that, is that as we find freedom and healing in areas, we then turn around and help other people, you know, and that gives meaning to our pain, you know.
It's redemptive in the truest sense of the word. Yeah.
And when we can find meaning in our suffering and meaning in our pain, it actually gives us new tools when those triggers start to come up and we start to recognize, oh, I'm feeling the need to medicate that pain. I'm feeling that instead of responding in those ways, we can now go, oh, this is that feeling that caused me to do this, but instead I can help people. I can talk about this. Yeah. And by sharing my pain and I'm actually helping advance the light as opposed to promoting the darkness. Yeah. And that reminds me of John 1:1, and it reminds me of pick up your cross and follow me. It's not pick up your cross and follow me for a few minutes till you get to the altar and you say a prayer and now you're done. It's just the rest of your life you're going to be carrying that cross. But the good news is, you know, the cross isn't the end. You know, it's just a journey.
Stanley Hauerwas says that, you know, and this may be a quote that he used, but like people who know that the grain of the universe is filled with crosses, that's how it is. To me, the cross, the suffering God, the not so much like, am I being reconciled to God, you know, or is God? It's kind of like the prodigal son story going. The father didn't go out and go, first, before I go running towards you, I need to take my other son out back and beat the shit out of him so that I can stand to see you. You know what I mean? Right. Like that hardcore, like, you know, like
substitutionary atonement.
Yeah. Like I need to reconcile myself with you, right? Rather than the world reconciling himself to God. That's the whole weird thing of like this legalistic kind of, and it truly legalistic courtroom.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. That to me, to understand that I have my own Garden of Gethsemane, I have my own Pascal shape to follow into, I have my cross that I need to allow myself to take up and carry, puts me right in the middle of being in solidarity with the suffering of the world.
And who do we find there?
That's right. And who do we find there? I told a guy the other day, and it was one of the younger guys who's like struggling with his faith and all that. I said, look, man, I got a statue of Buddha right there. I also have a statue of the Believed Trinity icon because I don't see the tension. But what I'll tell you is, if you tell me, do I need to choose between the grin on Buddha's face and the half-closed eyes, or the anguish on Christ's face when he's on the cross screaming, my God, why have you forsaken me? I'm going with that guy, because that kind of humanity I relate with, that kind of understanding of where are you in the midst of this?
Right.
Because that's when you realize God did not give you a theodicy that gives you all the answers for why it's happening. He gave you himself. Right. So God's will for me is always himself. That's it. It's more him. It's himself. And to understand that I want to understand why suffering happens might be outside the boundaries I'm supposed to step out of. Instead, I realize God's in the middle of it. I don't know why, but there's something about knowing that at the center of this is a presence that is love, that sustains me, even as it protects me, not from a lot of that happens to me.
Right.
When I am connected to that, I can meet my hurting places with love, and I can meet the other hurting places with love, because I'm connected not just to the source of love, but to your suffering, because I'm connected to my suffering. That's the only way, I think, for me at least, I'll choose that version of suffering over the Buddhist path. Not that I think I have to, but I'll choose that over it, because I don't think the root cause of my suffering is just because I'm overly attached to pleasant emotions or outcomes. I think the root of my suffering is that there's real fucking suffering.
That's right. Man, I think you need to start writing worship songs again. I think you got a whole new quiver here.
I know, man, but how do you express this? You know, I mean, that's the hard thing.
Well, just if it's hard doesn't mean we don't do it.
I know. It's just, man, it's tricky, you know.
Yeah.
Nobody. Hey, what'd you do, Mark? What'd you write about? The suffering of humanity. What? No, I'm not singing about that on Sunday morning. You know what I mean? It's like
our church will. You send it to we'll have 6 people out on the patio singing. That'll do it for now. And by the way, thank you so much for the feedback we have already gotten on this episode with Mark. He reached out to me already, and I know that your response means a lot to him as well. You folks are the best. We are heading into a difficult time of year, so let's keep spreading the word about this to those who need to hear it. And again, this little bonus clip, just one example of the kind of fun stuff our patrons will be getting from now on. Those who come alongside us with some financial support will get extra episodes, exclusive live events, exclusive articles, exclusive merchandise options, and more. Head over to TrueTunes.com or Patreon.com/TrueTunes for the details, and please consider joining us. Oh, and do sign up for the email list at our website, please. That helps us keep you informed as well. This whole thing is about community and conversations and music, and how by learning to listen better, we can become better people, more in line with the beauty created within us and the reason we are here in the first place. We are a tribe formed around music played under the open sky and tattered tents. We reach across generations and genres in search of a common ground on which we can celebrate diversity, taste eternity, and sing a new song as we wait for the old to pass away. We kick at the darkness and we blow our trumpets and we laugh and weep together. But I cannot do this alone. Not the website, the podcast, or the future in-person gatherings we hope and pray to will into existence. I have seeded the garden, but I need help. If it wasn't for my friend Bruce over there, the podcast would still just be an idea. But now we have proven the concept, I think. We have shown at least some solid examples of what we are capable of, but seriously, we are just getting started. You ain't seen nothing yet. I eagerly hope to regather as many of the old True Tunes and Cornerstone Tribe from our heyday decades ago as I can, while we passionately welcome an entirely new generation into the mix as well. All of this takes time, energy, and funds, though, all of which are thin right now. So I'm looking to this community to help share that load. Revenue raised through this campaign will help me invest time into creating the content for True Tunes. It will help me invest in the necessary marketing needed to reach the people that we feel called to reach. And when the time comes, it will help us gather together to do something fun in person. So yes, I will continue to do as much as I can through True Tunes with or without financial support. However, if everyone listening to the show or reading the articles was to kick in a few bucks per month, it would put some real wind in our sails. We could really move the needle. Those handful of individuals with the means to do more can make an enormous difference through efforts such as these. My goal is to gather the attention of tens of thousands of people, not going to lie, I dare say 100,000 people who are interested in art that resonates on the deepest spiritual levels and yet remains accessible to anyone who wanders under this tent. A tribe that big would change everything for the artists struggling to make ends meet out here in the fields. A tribe that big would create opportunities for younger artists to incubate effectively. We did it 30 years ago, and it was much more difficult and much more expensive. There's no reason we can't do it now. The music in these conversations can change hearts, and changed hearts can change the world. There is no longer a need to limit our expectations with labels and genres and ghettos. Let's blow the doors off this thing. All are welcome. We have nothing to sell and no codes to protect. What we do have is a mandate to love with everything we have, and this little corner of the world happens to be full of some amazing music. So let's love with that. Join us if you can. Okay, thanks for listening. Until next time, stay tuned and stay true. Now, cover that link back up when you leave so the next person doesn't see it.
Oh, rich young ruler came one day to ask about